When I say the name Vin Scully, what comes to mind?
One of a kind. Nobody like him. Can't imagine there will be anybody like him in the future. It's a different template now. Vinny, in those 67 years, did most of the games by himself. He had a partner, Jerry Doggett, for a number of years, but Vinny would do 7 innings by himself, and then Jerry would do 2. And then in the latter years, Vinny would do 6 innings on television, maybe 3 on radio, or 9 innings on TV. When you think about it, how many people have a job, any job, or work for 67 consecutive years, or have the same job for 67 consecutive years, and bring it every day? Not only did I move to Los Angeles when the Dodgers moved here, but I was in Brooklyn, and we lived within walking distance of Ebbets Field. And the first thing in my life I can ever remember is walking into Ebbets Field with my father when I was 6 or 7, and Vinny was maybe in his first or second year with the Dodgers, and just falling in love with the atmosphere, with baseball. My father said, that's where the guys who were announcing the game are in that broadcast booth up there. I looked up there, and that was the first thing I ever remember. And that made me want to get into broadcasting. So there's no question, Vinny was my very early idol. I tried to emulate him. When I got the Hawaii Islander job, my first professional job doing minor league baseball in '68, I'm flying over there, and the only thing I'm thinking on the plane, Dan, is just sound like Vinny. I'm very nervous. I'm starting my career, and I did sound like Vinny. I sounded like a Vinny clone for so many years, and then, of course, I was able to bring my own style to it. But there was always a lot of Vinny in me, and I knew him. And I can only tell you, Dan, that if there was a contest for best baseball announcer of all time, and it was a horse race, Vinny was Secretariat, winning the Belmont by 31 lanes.
You remember the first time you met him?
I do. I actually met him. He was on vacation in Hawaii when I was doing the Islanders, and it was the off season. I was living there full time, and I was doing the local sports on television. And I knew he was at that time, the Kahala Hilton. And I just called the room, and I was very nervous. And I said, "Hi, Mr. Scully. I'm Al Michaels, and I'm on television here. Would you mind if I came down with a camera and talk to you for a couple of minutes?" "Oh, sure," is how Vinny put it. And I went down there, and I was so nervous. And he was great, and he remembered it. Not that many years later, when I'm doing the Cincinnati Reds. And my first year with the Reds, I've got the big red machine. I've got Rose and Bench and Perez and Morgan would come the next year. And our first trip to LA, Vinny asked me to go on the pregame show, Dodger Warm-Up. And that was one of the great thrills of my life. I had listened to that show from the time I was a child. And Vinny's interviewing me on the radio. It was something I'll never forget.
You talked about that style. That if you came up with that style now, I can't imagine a TV or radio executive is going to go, "Well, yeah, come on in. You're gonna do the game by yourself. Okay, yeah, not going to happen."
Yeah, and you might have to yell a little bit more to win the audition.
Yeah, got to have a catchphrase or two, and
or 10, or be dude perfect and come on to Amazon and do the telecast. I mean, God bless everybody and all of
times
this
are changing
now. Right now.
Times are changing.
You think so, Dan?
Yep,
you think so?
Just a little bit. Times are changing.
Yeah, but Vinny was forever, and even at the end of his career, and he ended it in 2016. Great honor for me. They were honoring Vinny on opening day, and they asked me to come and MC it and bring out all the Dodgers and all the people who were close to him. He was at the end of his career. And as I said, he brought it every day because through the years, they had a lot of great teams and some bad teams, but I would be driving home from wherever, 7, 8 years ago, get to the driveway, open up the garage door. And then if Vinny was telling a story, I would just stop, let the car idle, and I had to hear the rest of the story. Yeah. He was that good for 67 years. It's just impossible. Nobody could ever duplicate that. Nobody.
But also, he did other sports.
He did.
did football, he did golf,
He
did
did.
game of the week with baseball.
Yeah.
But to be able to tell those stories, and radio is different than TV, as you well know. TV, your role is to complement what we get to see. Radio, I got to create everything. So to be able to do that, the same broadcast that's going to be on TV and on radio is kind of that's a double header that's tricky to pull off.
Very. You mentioned Chick Hearn. Chick did that, but Chick did a simulcast. So Chick did radio and TV both, and had to do basically a radio broadcast, because if you were doing a television broadcast on radio, the radio listener was going to miss a lot.
Yeah.
So it was probably overly wordy, but basketball lent itself to being overly wordy. I mean, the game is a fast-paced game, as opposed to what baseball is. But Vinny made the transition perfectly. He knew how to, work both mediums. He was so descriptive, obviously, on radio, and radio lets you use every, verb in the dictionary. Television, you're doing a lot of captions and speaking in ellipses. You're filling. I mean, the verb is visual. You can see it's a line drive, it's a pop fly, whatever it is. Vinny knew how to do it perfectly. He was phenomenal at that. And as I say, I can't think of anybody like him. Could it happen again? Among other things, now teams have 8, 9, 10 announcers. Guys have 38 days off and all of that. For so many years, Vinny did 162 games in every spring training game, and they got to the playoffs and World Series a lot. So Vinny did everything all the time, and how his voice even held up was amazing. And you mentioned he did other sports. I'll never forget, he told me once, he said he was always hesitant to do that. He said, because if you're on too much, people won't miss you. But if you just do the right amount, they can't wait for you to get back. I understood that. And during the years when some of us in the business would be doing so many things, it's like at a certain point, people are going to go, him again, So Vinny was always very, very cognizant of that.
I think I need to take a couple of months off then, Al, because I've been doing it every single day for a long, long time.